One truth is stronger than their whole empire, and it's all in my hands.
My ex-wife left me with a sticky note and leftover lasagna. That was it. No screaming match, no waterworks. Just her scrawled message. You'll find someone who fits your pace someday. I need excitement. Next to it sat a casserole dish still wrapped in yesterday's foil. 4 years have passed since then. Today I'm staring at a fancy wedding invitation with gold lettering. Naomi Carter and Eric Malden request your presence. She put my name on the guest list like I'm some old college buddy, not the husband she ditched for someone more thrilling. She wants me there to witness her upgrade, to sit in the cheap seats while she parades her new catch. What she doesn't realize is that this show isn't hers to direct anymore. I marked attending on the RSVP card. No +1 needed. Naomi always mistook my quiet nature for weakness, thought leaving without drama made me pathetic. But silence carries weight. It forces people to lean closer, to fill the void. She's about to learn that lesson. I flew out under my middle name, got a rental car from the next town over, bought fresh shoes I wouldn't break in until showtime. She set up the theater. I'd let her have the spotlight. Funny thing, she used to complain about how I organized my closet, called me obsessive about order. But when she rushed out that day, she missed a few details. The spare key hidden in her jewelry box, the financial records I'd moved to the garage, backup drives mislabeled as tax documents. That key led me to the storage unit. Inside, I found his name, Eric Malden, 30-something tech entrepreneur selling emotional intelligence software to corporate HR. Smooth talker, the type who charms mothers and makes friends jealous. They were engaged within 2 years. Her social media post read, "Finally took the plunge into something authentic." I printed that caption and framed it. Not from heartache, but for reference. I don't hold grudges. I document them. Here's what Naomi never discovered. Her future father-in-law and I have history. We faced each other across a federal courthouse 20-some years back. Different circumstances, same tension. I still remember his expression when the judge delivered the verdict. That slight jaw tremor when reality hit. Now he's escorting his boy down the aisle. I arrived 2 days early. Quaint town, old stone church covered in ivy. Drove past the venue twice, casual surveillance. Naomi probably assumed I'd skip it entirely. Maybe she hoped I'd show up broken and regretful. Either way, she calculated wrong. Checked into a roadside motel, second story, curtains drawn. Pressed my shirt, arranged the sealed envelope I'd tucked into my jacket lining. Inside was a document her soon-to-be in-law thought was buried forever. Official, notarized, forgotten by most. But I remember everything. Slept like someone on a mission. Light, alert. Morning came with surgical precision, dressed deliberately. No necktie, sharp cuffs, pocket square matching her invitation's color scheme. Call it strategic nostalgia. They claim revenge tastes best when cold. Wrong. It's most effective when served quietly, by someone presumed irrelevant, who sits unnoticed while watching your performance collapse from the inside. Naomi didn't weep when she walked out. She wore this satisfied smirk, the same one she'd flash after arguments she never truly grasped. Standing there in some new silk top, gripping a designer bag with the price tag still attached. Hairstyled, makeup perfect. Not for me, obviously. "You're too predictable, Thomas," she announced, like diagnosing a minor condition. I crave intensity, not spreadsheets. I focused on her footwear. Those painful-looking heels she always complained about. Guess passion makes you immune to discomfort. No door slamming, just a soft click like she was stepping out for errands instead of demolishing 17 years of marriage. No confessions of affairs, no shouting matches. Pure, clean exit. She'd moved in with Eric before our coffee pot cooled down. Startup founder, mid-30s, all charm and confidence. Saw him once giving a tech conference presentation, gesturing like a magician pitching dreams to desperate believers. Cracked jokes about traditional business methods, earned a standing ovation. Naomi was probably watching from the audience or his hotel suite. I didn't chase her, didn't flood her phone, didn't post cryptic healing quotes online. Just erased her contact info, cleared my schedule, and created a different sort of action plan, the patient kind. Because here's what Naomi misunderstood. I don't create scenes, I engineer solutions. She thought she'd deleted me, but I was just archived. Now she's marching down Marble towards a man whose father spent months trying to silence federal investigators. A man whose name appears in sealed courtroom files. A man who nearly lost everything in 2001 because a whistleblower wouldn't accept bribes. I was that whistleblower. Eric has no clue, naturally. Why would he? Men like that rewrite history with family money and PR teams. But his father remembers our encounter. We shared more than a courtroom. We shared a moment of recognition. When he realized I wasn't just another corporate drone, I was the entire system. Back in '96, I was a 29-year-old systems analyst with questionable fashion sense and working ethics. Found irregularities in company books, duplicate vendor numbers, mysterious wire transfers, payment chains with no documentation. Reported it upward. Management suggested I take that Florida consulting gig and forget what I'd seen. I declined. Escalated instead. Once it hit executive level, things shifted fast. Deadlines vanished. Meetings got canceled. Suddenly, I'm being offered relocation packages for my silence. Said no again. Then came federal subpoenas, conference room depositions, stone-faced agents who dressed like accountants. I testified under oath. Sitting across the courtroom behind the defense lawyers was Charles Malden. Wasn't officially named in the case, just perpetually present. One of those phantom partners who exist everywhere while signing nothing. Silent money, they called it. No paper trail, no fingerprints. But everyone knew. Watched his financial empire shrink by millions, though it didn't crumble entirely. Charles moved like his type always does. Liquidated quickly, shuffled assets, let someone else take the fall, then reinvested what remained into something smaller and untraceable. That became Malden Metrics, Eric's precious company he claims to have bootstrapped from nothing, conveniently omitting the $300,000 wire transfer that funded his garage startup. The wedding venue screams overcompensation. Restored cathedral in a town too small for marble entrance lions. Naomi adores theatrical displays. Guest list probably includes the yoga studio friends who gushed about her glow during our separation. Some cryptocurrency bros, maybe her sister who drunkenly told me once that I was Naomi's best decision, but Jesus, you're dull. She wasn't wrong. I was boring. Until I stopped being boring. Arrived early as always. Patience disguised as efficiency. Claimed the second back pew, perfect observation point. Stained glass filtered golden light through the space, creating that biblical atmosphere Naomi probably thinks flatters her complexion. Guests flowed in like scattered glitter. Champagne giggles, competitive handshakes, expensive perfume mixed with barely concealed envy. Exactly the curated chaos she always craved, designed to look spontaneous. Then the main event. She entered like a solo performance artist, chin raised, smile calibrated for maximum impact. The dress was over-engineered, sculpted to appear effortless. Pure Naomi. When the murmurs died down, she locked onto Eric's gaze, and I caught that flash of triumph, as if this moment validated her decision to leave. Until Eric's father noticed me. Front row seat flanked by suited men pretending to be wedding guests. When our eyes connected, color drained from his face like someone cut the power. Nobody else saw it yet, but he did. That's when the careful choreography started unraveling. Eric stood confidently at the altar, the kind of man who treats life like his personal screenplay. Perfectly pressed confidence, acknowledging guests like a lead actor thanking extras. Tall, composed, joking with the efficient, basking in reverence reserved for those who believe they've earned their position. He hadn't. 37 minutes early, second to last pew, third seat from the aisle. Forgettable positioning. Could have been anyone's distant relative or vendor's spouse. Charcoal suit, no tie, clean but unremarkable. Looking like you belong prevents questions about why you're there. Church filled gradually. Laughter bounced off vaulted ceilings, mixing with organ preludes. Guests dressed for attention. Naomi's crowd always did. Former PR colleagues clustered and whispered. Some slick-haired guy gestured toward me, then shrugged when he couldn't place my face. Perfect anonymity. Bridesmaids strutted like auditioners. Then Naomi's grand entrance. Her gown radiated modern bridal smugness. White and proud of it. Tailored sleeves, strategic back exposure suggesting elegance with rebellion. She wasn't walking toward Eric. She was walking toward vindication, her living proof of I told you so. Watched her beam as the crowd turned, that measured, triumphant glide down the aisle, flower girl tugging her veil in glittered obedience. Somewhere around step 10, she scanned the guests, gaze sweeping right past me. No recognition, naturally. That version of me no longer existed. But front row Charles noticed everything. Eric's father sat rigid, clutching his program like it contained stock tips. Beside him, wife number 2 or a well-compensated assistant. Didn't matter which. What mattered was the moment our eyes met and he froze solid. Saw the memory detonate behind his eyes. Courtroom fluorescence, chair scraping, my voice under oath. The young engineer who'd torpedoed the illegal pipeline feeding his first fortune. The man who'd stood against his legal army and refused every deal. His program slipped from trembling fingers. He rose slowly, deliberately, like his body was stalling his brain. Eric missed it initially, too busy grinning and waving at someone in row 4. Naomi glanced over, eyebrows creasing, instinctively adjusting her neckline. Whispers began rippling. Someone leaned toward Charles, but he ignored them, stepping toward the aisle. I remained motionless, expression blank, letting tension build like a slow fuse. Real drama doesn't come from chaos. It comes from silence that shouldn't exist. Charles walked directly to the altar, straight to his son. You could hear the air getting sucked from the room when he whispered urgently in Eric's ear. Not angry or loud, just surgical precision. Eric's grin flickered, forehead creased. He blinked like someone trying to recall a half-remembered nightmare. Then he spotted me. Our eyes locked, and I watched uncertainty replace his confidence. A man who'd always assumed the world was his stage suddenly realizing he didn't know the script. Eric turned back to his father, whispered something. Charles shook his head sharply, then pointed at me with 2 discreet fingers, like a field commander avoiding troop panic. Naomi, halfway down the aisle, stopped moving. "What's happening?" she called, half laughing, trying to maintain the mood. "What's wrong?" Silence. The organist hesitated, then quit playing entirely. Guests turned like wheat in wind, one by one focusing on me. The anonymous man in the back, the uninvited shadow who'd RSVP'd anyway. Naomi's voice sharpened. "Eric?" He ignored her. The priest looked confused about whether to smile or offer blessings. Then Eric handed his boutonniere to the nearest groomsman, stepped off the altar and walked toward me, footsteps echoing on polished wood. The tension was architectural now. Bridesmaids went mannequin stiff. Naomi stood frozen, mouth slightly open, left heel shifting as if deciding between charging forward or bolting backward. Eric stopped arm's length away. "You," he said. Neither question nor statement. "Correct," I replied calmly. He glanced at his father, then back. "Do we know each other somehow?" Slight head tilt. "Not directly, but we've been orbiting the same fire." He flinched at the phrasing. "What is this? Why are you here?" Reached inside my suit coat, retrieved the envelope. Cream paper, wax seal, old school formality. "This belongs to your father's attention only. Review it privately, then decide if you want to continue playing groom today." Eric hesitated, but Charles moved fast. Snatched the envelope before his son could touch it, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost he thought was permanently buried. Said nothing. He opened it immediately. No privacy, no discretion. Tore the seal and read. Face drained completely, pupils contracted, forehead vein pulsing like a countdown timer. When finished, he passed the papers to Eric slowly, like transferring a live explosive. Eric read silently, then looked up at Naomi, still frozen in her rehearsed wedding pose. Didn't yell or break down, just announced clearly enough for everyone to hear, "You should sit down." Dead silence returned to the church. Eric was trembling subtly. That particular shake men get when they realize the room they thought they controlled is actually full of hidden traps. 10 minutes crawled by. Every clock tick sounded like a countdown. Then the side door opened. Eric emerged first, face colorless and hollow, like someone who'd just learned physics was fake. Charles followed, rubbing his nose bridge like he'd aged decades in a single folder's worth of time. Eric bypassed the altar completely, walked straight to Naomi with deliberate purpose. The room held its breath. Naomi attempted a smile. "Everything fine?" Eric studied her intensely. Then, quieter than expected, but sharp enough to penetrate every pew. "You need to sit down." Gasps cascaded. Naomi blinked hard. "What?" Eric looked away, toward guests, toward altar, finally toward me, still standing silent as a gravestone. In that instant, understanding hit him. Not the complete picture yet, but enough. This wasn't a wedding anymore, it was a reckoning. The envelope contained dense history, every page touched by time, lawyers, enforced silence. You could smell the decades on it. Inside, 1996 court documents. Case sealed, United States versus Arce Holdings, LLC. Charge, securities fraud, $4.2 million penalty. Key witness, Thomas B. Merrill Jr., systems engineer. Testimony, devastating. But more than transcripts and federal paperwork, the confidential settlement agreement Charles thought was buried under 20 years of handshakes and shell companies. His name, his signature. The document invalidating any legitimate claim to clean capital used for Malden metrics. The prenup Naomi forced Eric to sign contained her masterpiece clause, probably incomprehensible to her. Assets discovered originating from undisclosed illegal sources shall nullify community property rights. If Eric's money came from tainted roots, Naomi gets nothing. And now those roots were exposed. Her lawyer, Glenn Holbrook, wasn't just some Westwood estate professional. He was my former war room partner during the Arset investigation. We'd analyzed hundreds of ledger pages together. Glenn could smell dirty money before it hit paper. He owed me a favor. When Naomi contacted him, probably bragging about her boring ex still clipping coupons, I made a call. Glenn did something Naomi couldn't imagine. He strengthened her prenup against her own interests, slid in subtle, devastating language under asset origin disclosure. To Naomi, it seemed like protection from Eric. To us, it was a detonator. She constructed the vault. We just changed the locks. The priest shifted nervously. Should we proceed? No, Eric said steadily. There's no wedding today. The words cut through everything like a blade. Naomi's gasp was genuine this time. Not her practiced boardroom dramatics, but something raw from her chest. Involuntary disbelief. What? She stepped forward. Eric, whatever this is, we'll handle it. He raised his hand. She stopped mid-stride. Crowd murmured. One of Naomi's friends made a nervous giggle shriek before realizing nobody else was laughing. A groomsman coughed. The organist froze mid-chord. I remained silent, motionless. Just stood and turned, walking calmly down the aisle like the ceremony had concluded. Because it had. Naomi's voice followed me. Thomas, what did you do? But she couldn't pursue. Not in those heels, not dragging that pride behind her like a wedding train. At the back doors, I paused for one final look at the altar where she'd constructed her fantasy. Delusion by delusion. She'd designed this entire production as a farewell insult to our past, a conquest performance in ivory silk. Instead, it crumbled in silence. Cool air greeted me outside like a co-conspirator. Footsteps approached from behind. Didn't need to turn around. Already knew. Charles Malden stood several feet back, hands buried in coat pockets, envelope clutched under one arm like a verdict. You never let it go, he said. Not mocking or angry, just exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that comes from realizing the past doesn't fade, it calculates. I faced him. No, but I forgave it. That's why I came. He looked at me, eyes damp but unbroken. To destroy them? I shook my head. To close the book? That's exactly what this was. Not revenge or rage. Didn't come to gloat or create drama. Came to write the final page of a story that began when Naomi called me too safe. She confused quiet with weak, mistook kindness for boring, thought the world belonged to whoever shouted loudest, moved fastest, sparkled brightest. But real power is knowing exactly when to speak and when to disappear. So I left. No backward glances, no applause waiting. Just walked away as church doors sealed the wreckage inside. Wasn't my mess to clean up anymore? Never really was. By Monday, Naomi's wedding became a cautionary tale in designer lace. Local lifestyle blog ran, Runaway Groom at Whispering Pines, the wedding that wasn't. Anonymous guest quotes, blurry photos, speculation without names initially. Within 48 hours, everything exploded. Eric's investor pulled funding. Luxury vendor posted viral TikTok. People think they can order 24,000 in floral arrangements, then vanish. We have receipts. 500,000 views before noon. Naomi's Instagram went dark. Formerly curated lifestyle content for women who don't settle. Used to end posts with upgraded. Comments now read, you got downgraded, sweetheart. Eric vanished from public view. Word spread that he'd fired his father from all business positions. The family trust-backing Malden metrics faced independent review. Charles's name disappeared from press releases. Naomi had quit working 6 months prior, calling herself retired at 41, despite carrying student debt. Never told Eric, claimed she was curating their home while draining joint accounts on monogrammed glasses and imported bathroom fixtures. She'd terminated her apartment lease before the wedding, telling her landlord backup plans weren't necessary. Now she was couch surfing with Pilates friends, borrowing credit cards until venue refunds clear. But venues don't refund. They sued instead. Breach of contract, unpaid deposits, staff emotional trauma claims. Naomi wasn't on any contracts. Eric was. And Eric stopped taking her calls. Charles, too. She tried spinning it. Mutual decision, better as friends. Timing wasn't right. But social circles have shark memory, always moving forward while never forgetting what they've already bitten. Friday, she cracked, sent me one line, no emojis. What did I ever do to deserve this? The audacity, pretending ignorance. Like abandoning me for someone flashier wasn't enough. Like mocking our quiet life, our routines, our Sunday traditions wasn't sufficient. Like inviting me to witness her upgrade instead of offering closure wasn't the final insult. She knew perfectly well. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Silence started this entire thing, and silence would finish it. Last time she saw me was raining. Not cinematic thunder, just steady drizzle softening the cityscape. The kind of weather that makes people careful, where apologies feel easier even when they're years overdue. Library cafe on Tuesday. Quiet hardwood tables, overpriced espresso, pages turning softly. I liked it because nobody asked questions. You could sit with thoughts uninterrupted until she interrupted. Thomas. Small voice. Not the Naomi I remembered. Not the woman who once whispered at parties that I wasn't built for greatness. This version wore flat shoes and a rain-spotted coat she'd never planned to be seen in. She sat without invitation. I didn't flinch, just closed my book and looked up. Her eyes were glassy, not from weather. I genuinely loved you once, she said, gripping her purse like an anchor. My coffee had gone cold. You loved the version of me you didn't understand. She blinked. What's that supposed to mean? You fell in love with a mirror. When I stopped reflecting what you wanted, you broke it and called the pieces personal growth. Silence. I was never the problem. You just lacked patience to see the bigger design. Naomi's mouth opened wordlessly. She looked exhausted. The kind no spa treatments fix that comes from betting everything on illusion and losing. I wasn't trying to hurt you back then, she said quietly. Doesn't change that you did. She tried smiling, but it came out warped. I thought building the perfect life would prove something to everyone. It did, just not what you expected. I stood, abandoning my half-finished coffee. She didn't stop me, didn't plead, just watched me walk toward the door. Through the window, I caught her reflection, still small, still watching me leave, like a movie ending differently than she'd imagined. Never saw her again. Didn't need to shout or rage or ruin anything. She ended my story once with smugness and luggage. I ended hers with silence.